A baby chimpanzee is sitting at a dinner table. She is dressed like a child, fed like a child, watched like a child. Across from her sits a real human baby, and the adults in the room are waiting for a miracle. Not a religious miracle, a scientific one. They want to know if a chimpanzee, raised inside a human family, can start to become something more human. For a while, it almost looks possible. That is the dangerous part. A young chimp can learn routines with unsettling speed. She can drink from a cup, wear clothes, open doors, use simple tools, ask for attention, and copy the people around her. In some early tests, young apes even seemed faster than human infants at certain physical tasks. They were stronger, more coordinated, more alert to movement, and if you only watched those moments, you might think the experiment was working. A chimp in a chair, a chimp wearing clothes, a chimp reaching for a spoon, a chimp looking up at a human caregiver with eyes that feel almost familiar. But imitation is not transformation. An ape may sit at the table because humans taught it to sit there. It may hug a caregiver because it wants comfort. It may use a spoon because it has learned the routine. But beneath those behaviors is a mind built for another world, a forest world, a troop world, a world of climbing, grooming, dominance, fear, play, alliances, and survival. The question was never really whether apes were intelligent. They were. The gamble was stranger than that. Could a human home, the meals, the clothes, the voices, the rules, the constant attention, bend an ape's mind toward ours? And the answer did not arrive in one dramatic moment. It appeared in small failures, a sound that never became a word, a gesture that might have meant something, or might have meant, give me food. A child copying the ape more than anyone expected. When researchers tried to raise apes like children, they often discovered something uncomfortable. The ape did not simply become human. Instead, the humans around the ape began to see childhood differently. A human baby is not just a small animal learning tricks. A child is built for a very specific social world. Pointing, shared attention, constant vocal practice, long dependence on adults, a strange hunger for approval, correction, and meaning. These are not decorative parts of childhood. They are the machinery of it. A chimpanzee can enter parts of that world, but not all of it. One famous case involved a chimpanzee named Gua. Gua was raised alongside a young boy named Donald. The point was to compare them under similar conditions, almost like two children growing up in the same strange household. And at first, Gua looked impressive. She could imitate. She could learn household habits. She could respond to training. In some ways, she seemed quicker than Donald at physical tasks. She moved better, reacted faster, copied more easily, but speech never arrived. Human language did not bloom just because she was surrounded by humans. And the experiment did not only change Gua, it also seemed to affect Donald. The line between teaching the ape and changing the child became harder to ignore. That is one of the first unsettling lessons in these stories. When you try to humanize an ape, you do not create a normal human environment. You create a strange environment for everyone inside the house. Another chimpanzee, Viki, was raised in a human home and given intense speech training. The goal was not just to teach her routines, it was to make her speak. And Viki tried. She learned to produce a few rough word-like sounds, but nothing close to normal human speech. That failure mattered. It suggested that the problem was not simply intelligence. A chimpanzee does not have the same vocal control, the same developmental pathway, or the same instinctive relationship to spoken language that a human child has. A human baby does not wait politely for language lessons. It stares at mouths. It makes useless little noises. It repeats sounds badly, then better, then badly again. And every adult around it keeps answering as if those broken sounds already matter. Language grows because the brain, the body, and the social world are all pushing in the same direction. With apes, the picture is different. They may understand more than they can say. They may know what humans want. They may use sounds and gestures intentionally. But spoken language, the kind that builds stories, arguments, jokes, lies, memories, and imaginary worlds, does not simply appear. So researchers tried another door. Maybe speech was the wrong test. Apes use their hands beautifully. They gesture, reach, signal, beg, threaten, comfort, pull others close, push others away. So some scientists turned to sign language. That is where the story became more fascinating and more controversial. Washoe, a chimpanzee raised in a human-like environment, became famous for learning signs. She seemed to use them to ask for things, describe objects, and interact with people. To many observers, it felt like a breakthrough. Here was an ape who was not just performing tricks. Here was an ape who seemed to be communicating. Then came Nim Chimpsky. Nim was another chimpanzee raised with humans and taught signs. He learned many of them. He could produce sequences. He could interact with trainers in ways that looked at first almost like conversation, but the interpretation became darker. His lead researcher later argued that Nim was not using language the way a human child does. He was often responding to cues, repeating signs, using them to get food, attention, or comfort. Nim was not failing because he was dull. The experiment was failing because humans kept mistaking cooperation for conversation. A chimp could learn the move. That did not mean he had entered the game. A child does not learn language only to request things. A child starts building a shared world. They point not just because they want an object, but because they want another mind to look with them. They name things. They ask questions. They pretend. They talk about what is not there. They combine words into meanings that can travel far beyond the room. Apes can learn symbols. They can remember them. They can use them in ways that look meaningful. But whether this becomes language in the full human sense is still disputed. And the strongest evidence suggests a real limit. The ape can move toward us, but it does not become us. And then the body grows. This is the part people forget when they imagine a chimp in pajamas. A baby chimp can be charming, needy, funny, affectionate. It can look like an unusual child with long arms and too much strength. But an adolescent chimp is not a child. It is a powerful animal entering a dangerous stage of life. Stronger than any human child. More impulsive, more intense, more socially complicated than a human household can usually handle. The living room stops being a nursery. It becomes a cage with furniture. What once looked cute begins to look unfair. A young chimp wants contact, stimulation, control, and social feedback. But as it matures, its natural behaviors become harder for humans to tolerate. Biting, grabbing, screaming, testing boundaries, sudden aggression. These are not signs of evil. They are part of an animal growing into a powerful social adulthood. For humans, that can be terrifying. For the ape, it can be confusing, because the rules keep changing. When the chimp is small, humans reward its closeness. They hold it, dress it, laugh when it copies them, invite it into their beds, kitchens, routines, and private lives. Then the same animal grows strong enough to hurt someone by accident or on purpose. Suddenly the touching is dangerous, the play is dangerous, the tantrum is dangerous. The animal that was treated like a child is now treated like a problem. Many apes, raised this way, ended up displaced, moved from homes to laboratories, from laboratories to facilities, from familiar caregivers to strangers. A creature raised to depend on human intimacy could become too strong to live safely with humans, yet too human-shaped in its upbringing to easily return to normal ape society. That may be the most uncomfortable answer to the question. When an ape lives like a child, it may learn pieces of our world, but it can also lose pieces of its own. A wild chimpanzee childhood is not empty. It is not some blank life waiting for humans to improve it. Young chimps learn from mothers, siblings, and group members. They learn what to eat, where to sleep, how to groom, how to read rank, when to fight, when to retreat, who can be trusted, who must be feared, how to belong inside chimp society. A human house cannot replace that. It can only create a hybrid, life. And hybrid lives often come with loneliness. The experiments did not reveal a half-human waiting inside the ape. They revealed something more uncomfortable. An ape could come close enough to make humans hopeful, and still remain completely, stubbornly, beautifully ape. That matters because the old assumption was wrong. Intelligence is not a ladder with humans at the top and every other animal climbing toward us. An ape does not have to become a child to matter. It already has a mind shaped by millions of years of survival, family, conflict, memory, fear, desire, and attachment. It can imitate us because it is intelligent. It can bond with us because it is emotional. It can learn signs because its mind is flexible. It can suffer in human environments because its needs are real. Human childhood is powerful because it is so unfinished. We are born helpless, and that helplessness gives culture time to enter us. Language pours in, rules pour in, stories pour in. We become human slowly, through other humans, but an ape raised the same way does not become a person trapped in an ape body. It becomes an ape placed inside a human experiment, and that distinction changes what the question really means, because maybe the question was never, can we make them like us? Maybe the question was, what do we owe a mind that can come close enough for us to recognize it, but never close enough for us to claim it? A chimp at a dinner table can fool you for a moment. It can hold the cup, copy the gesture, reach for the hug, look back with eyes close enough to make you forget what you are looking at. But behind those eyes is not a failed human child. It is an ape, not less than us, not almost us. A mind pulled into a world it did not evolve for, trying to survive the strange kindness of people who thought love and training might be enough.